From the KLIF 24/7 newsroom, news and information, 570 AM, 96.3 FM, HD2.
KLIF.
7:17 now. Jury deliberations taking a bit longer than expected in the trial of Dallas County Commissioner John Wiley Price, prompting speculation that jurors aren't coming to an agreement. Chris Lewis is an attorney with Crane, Lewis, and Brogdon here in Dallas, and he joins us live. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
So we're heading into day 5 of deliberations today. What does that make you think?
It makes me think that they are considering all the evidence. There's a bunch of charges, 12 or 13 counts in this. So it makes me think that they're doing their job. And I know the lead-in said something about it's taken longer than expected. I think it's taken longer than the government wanted it to take. But, yeah, there's definitely some disagreement in the jury room. What the defense wants to do is weather the storm of a fast verdict, which they've done at this point in time. And clearly they would want not guilty verdicts on all counts, but I think they would be okay with a hung jury at this point.
Yeah, I was just about to suggest that maybe the fact that the jury is being very careful, very deliberate, apparently, and going and picking through all the evidence that they've heard over the last 8 weeks might give the defense reason to think, well, you know, we just might get to a point where they say there's just too much here to consider, and maybe, you know, they're not going to find him guilty.
Yeah, and what the judge will do, and I'm sure what the jury knows at this point in time, is if they're not able to reach a unanimous verdict, that they're going to have to impanel another jury. They're going to have to go through this thing again. So I think this jury is going to try to be diligent in a way that doesn't violate their conscience. They're going to try to be diligent and come to a resolution and put this thing to rest. But a lot of times, a lot of juries, especially one that involves as much circumstantial evidence as this case does, and judging from the looks on the jurors' faces during closing arguments, I think some are with the government and some are clearly not with the government.
Could the jury find Mr. Price guilty or not guilty on some of the charges and be hung on other charges?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question, and that could be what's happening. And they could have already decided one or several of the counts to proof beyond a reasonable doubt to a unanimous verdict. And the deliberation may be on just a few counts. Now, what would have given us great insight, I think Judge Lynn did the right thing, but what would have given us great insight into what at least some of them were thinking is if we would have known what those jury notes said last week. It might have been just asking for the evidence, or it might have been questions that would have been a little more tailored to specifically what they're thinking at this point.
In such a complicated case, are you surprised that the jury only has gone back to ask questions one time?
I am. Now, and what I would have expected is that when the questions come out early, it's typically they're asking for all of the evidence that's been admitted into the case or for specific testimony. It doesn't appear that it was anything related to we are deadlocked at this point in time, because now we've seen at least 3 days since that note came out. But I would think with a case that went on this long that had as many documents, unless they were just given everything, I would have expected to see more notes by this point in time.
Yeah, during the course of the trial, we saw the prosecution fumble around with evidence and having to go back to the judge and say, we found something else we need to, and the judge got highly annoyed. Does that affect a jury?
Yeah, you know, so every jury trial is simply telling a story, and many times a verdict, one way or the other, comes down to who tells the story the best. The only thing that you've got in these is your credibility, and you've got 12 people who don't really know you, who don't know the parties, and are trying to figure out who tells the best story. So if you do something that destroys or it hurts your credibility, then it's going to have an impact on your story. And I think that's what's happened with the government in this case. All of a sudden, the jury pauses a little bit and doesn't just accept at face value everything that's being said. They start to question.
Do you think the jury should have been sequestered in this case, or the judge made a good decision in letting them go home every night?
I think, you know, it's a double-edged sword. I think the judge made the right decision. Can you imagine a jury that would be sequestered without cell phones, without family, without anything for 2.5, 3 months? At some point, I feel like it protects the process, but it also compromises the process because the jury just wants to get done and have some normalcy to their life. So I think that the judge did the right thing. She could have also sequestered them just for deliberations, but still, it just has such an impact on people. On the flip side, though, the jury's got to be really diligent to make sure that they don't talk to any family members, they don't listen to any media reports or read any media reports. And I would be surprised if they've been able to stay clear of all that.
All right, we're talking with Dallas attorney Chris Lewis. Chris, I've got a question totally unrelated to the John Wiley Price trial, but I've been wanting to ask a lawyer about this since I first saw the TV show Bull. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of episodes. Okay. My parents are absolutely obsessed with it.
Well, this stars Michael Weatherly as a jury consultant, and his science and his investigative techniques and his huge staff of scientists and highly trained experts in determining human behavior and everything makes it virtually impossible for an attorney to seat a jury that won't go. That won't go in Bull's client's way. Is that reality, or is that just really good fiction?
It's a little bit of both. So I know that the episodes I've seen of Bull, they are able to have cameras on the jurors and read their faces based upon what the witness is saying and whether a person's being empathetic or whether they're just not buying what the testimony is. That part of it's not reality. But are there highly trained people who serve as jury consultants that help out on big cases all the time and very, very skilled? Yeah. Because what a lot of this comes down to is human behavior. And what you don't see, kind of the sausage-making process of jury consulting is a lot of times these jury consultants and lawyers will get focus groups together before the trial, and they'll have mock trials. So what you're trying to do is you're trying, in the community in which the case is being tried, try to figure out what are groups of people going to think about it. It's almost like you do polling, informal polling or formal polling in political elections.
So they try to figure out what part of the story is the best part to push and what part is the best one to kind of, leave it alone and that sort of thing?
Yeah, or just whatever your theories of the case are. You'll have a mock trial where you have one side serve as the government, the other side serve as the defense, and present the high points of the case, and then you're able to watch the deliberations and see what these jurors, these normal people, non-lawyers, non-parties, what they think is important with the case. And then I think that helps either side really tailor their case and try to hit the strong points and try to stay on point with whatever the theme of their case is.
All right, Chris, always a pleasure. Chris Lewis, attorney with Crane, Lewis, and Brogdon in Dallas.